Why do we need this brand? Why do we need this brand? I don't understand how Volkswagen group thing. We're supposed to be excited about it. When a new brand comes on the market, I would be praising this if Ford did it. Hey, you know what? We should make sure that our customers put gas into our car. Welcome to E4 Electric live from Bangkok, and we got some big news in the electric car world. We have a new electric car brand, which is actually a resurrected brand by Volkswagen Group called Scout Motors. And of course, you guys are thinking about it like, hey, Alex, I'm sure you're very excited as an electric car enthusiast and a host of an electric car channel. And I got to tell you, I am not. I am not excited about this brand at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's a waste of time. I think it's a kind of a dud already, even though they are not unveiling, or they've unveiled. So they've unveiled the two vehicles already. So it is the SUV and the pickup truck. They had a big unveiling, and they've announced the specs. They've announced the timeline. They've announced everything, except for none of it is impressive at all. As a matter of fact, you're probably wondering, like, hey, who put another badge on a Rivian truck? And by the way, if one thing that Scout Motors was kind of known for, right, their signature look was their round headlights. And one job their designers had, right, was to keep those headlights. And guess what? We're looking at yet another whatever horizontal bullshit and by the way, this is not the first time a Volkswagen Group did this. By the way, this is a brand resurrected by Volkswagen Group. This is not the first time they did it. Remember the Volkswagen Bus? The iconic van that what I think is another shameful, cheap imitation of a legend. Same thing. They had one job, is to keep the round lights, and they screwed that up. So now, of course, you're looking at this thinking like, a guy, that sure looks like a Rivian. Well, I got to tell you, it looks like a Rivian, but it's not a Rivian when it comes to specs. Even the specs that they gave us already are not very impressive, but keep in mind that these two vehicles are not going in production until pretty much 3 years from now. And as you know, the timelines change, especially when it comes to first vehicle of the brand new brand. We've been fooled before, so there's no reason for us to believe these guys. But let's say 3 years. In 3 years, the specs that are quite average already, I think it's like 325 or whatever miles of range. The charging speed is not that impressive for what it is. I don't see how it can compete with the Rivians of the world, with the Hummer EVs of the world, and it's a dud. It's a dud, especially because why do we need this brand? Why do we need this brand, and why do we need this 3 years from now? We all know the pricing is not going to be the same, right? I mean, when was the last time any brand that came out with a pickup truck kept their promise with their pricing? I mean, some of it is 50% more from what originally was promised, whether it's a Cybertruck or F-150 Lightning or a Silverado EV. I just don't get it. And it's a disappointment because the guy in charge is Scott Keogh. He's a former CEO of Volkswagen Group of America, actually one of the best executives I have met in 8 years of doing this. So I actually had high hopes for him to do this. And I got to tell you, to me, this is a failure. There's nothing about this truck that needs to be on the market that hasn't been already done. How are they going to compete in 3 years with Rivian? That's probably going to have over 500 miles of range by then. Silverado EV will for sure have over 500 miles of range. I think they're already over 400. I just I don't understand how Volkswagen Group thinks. And don't get me wrong, they fired Herbert Diess, the guy who was actually resurrecting the entire brand successfully, and they hired the worst possible guy who can run Volkswagen Group, which is the Porsche CEO, Blume. And now you're seeing the results. It's not. By the way, this week it was announced that Volkswagen is closing down one of their all-electric vehicle factories. That's how bad they're doing under Blume. And this is yet another I predict failure from Volkswagen. And it is very unfortunate because we're supposed to be excited about it. When a new brand comes on the market, we want that brand to push the existing brands that maybe got a little stale, maybe got a little lazy, maybe got a little bit too much into their routines. And a new brand is supposed to push an envelope, whether it's with this software or with maybe design or some specs like Lucid, for example, right? Best range, fastest charging time, faster 0 to 60. This brand's got none of it. It is going to be best at nothing. And it's going to be at best average at everything. So it is a failure, if you ask me. And I do not genuinely understand how Volkswagen Group thinks they're going to compete with this piece of shit. It is a loser on arrival. Let's get to some questions in comments. Garrett says, I think the Scout looks great and appeals to broader audience by offering that gas range extender. Oh, I forgot about that piece of shit. Okay, so yeah, that's right. Unlike Rivian, I see it as a win-win because not everyone wants a full EV. So yeah, so here's the thing. I do agree with you that a range extender is a pretty good idea, not an idea, but the good option, right? BMW i3 offered it pretty much, all plug-in hybrid. That's what a plug-in hybrid is, right? It's an electric car with a range extender. However, I would be praising this if Ford did it with their F-150 Lightning, right? If GM did it with the Silverado EV, it would be like, all right, that's great. But if you're putting a brand out there that is a brand new brand, walking into this next century, next generation of cars, which are electric, and you're still saying, hey, you know what? We should make sure that our customers put gas into our car. Why? If you're a new brand, you're supposed to come to the market with 700-800 miles of range. Turn some heads. You're a new kid on the block. You have to make your name for yourself, and do things better than others, especially if you're giving yourself 3 freaking extra years. 700-800 mile range, then yes, boom. And then you don't need a range extender anymore. So, yeah, obviously it appeals to the broader audience, but what I'm saying is that if you are resurrecting the brand, right, they didn't need to resurrect the Scout Motors brand. They could have named it blah, 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 and it would be a new brand. As a matter of fact, it would be actually much easier to fight the dealership model that they're trying to fight now. But they've decided that, oh no, we're going to resurrect this particular brand. And like I said, one thing, like I'm not into this type of brands from the 60s or 70s or whatever. And even I know that, Scout is all about, So, like I said, it's just, to me, it's if you're a new brand, you have to go all electric. You can't basically say, yeah, we couldn't come up with a range that these, vehicles really need. So we're going to go with the gas technology. Like I said, perfectly fine for legacy manufacturers like Ford and Chevy. As a matter of fact, I think they kind of missed the boat on that one. I mean, yes, they can still do it, but that would have been a good idea. But it's definitely not for a new brand.